Welcome to Independence on a Dime, where we explore how an ambitious young adult can realistically survive a city on $750 per month after housing. The short answer is yes, but only with rigorous discipline and a strategic plan. In this video, we will break down the budget, expose common pitfalls, and show you how to turn proximity to work into a genuine wealth multiplier. To keep this practical, we will provide frameworks, checklists, and visual models you can copy. Now, let us set the agenda and move into the key ideas. Here is our roadmap. First, we will examine why this controversial plan can work. Then, we will break down a realistic spending plan for $750. Next, we will walk through a 2-week pre-lease stress test to validate your readiness. After that, we will address roommate boundaries to protect your relationships and your cash flow. We will also show how cutting a commute can act like a raise. Then we will offer concrete tactics for groceries, transportation, and phone costs. Finally, we will build an automation stack for savings and test your knowledge with a couple of quick quizzes. With that, let us dive into the big idea. The core thesis is that survival and even early momentum are possible on $750 after housing, but only if you treat every dollar as a job to do. The move works best when housing is unusually low and utilities are included, and when proximity to work lets you slash a punishing commute. That proximity unlocks time, energy, and flexibility, which you can reinvest to grow hours or responsibilities without changing employers. However, that $750 is not spare cash. It is your entire operating budget for food, transportation, phone, hygiene, and savings. With the stakes set, let us map the decision flow at a high level. This flowchart shows the decision path. First, identify a low-cost housing opportunity, ideally with utilities included. Next, test your discipline by tracking every dollar for 2 weeks before signing. If you can stay under $750, you likely have the habits to succeed. If you cannot, delay the move and correct spending. After signing, you reduce the commute, reclaim time and energy, and then deploy those gains into more hours or skill building with your current employer. In parallel, you operate a tight budget across categories to convert small advantages into accelerated independence. Now that the path is clear, let us quantify the $750. Here's a plausible allocation of $750. Groceries will likely consume $250 to $300. Transportation can range from $80 to $140 depending on bike, transit, or occasional ride shares. A lean phone plan can land between $30 and $50. Hygiene and household supplies, including cleaners, paper goods, and personal care, usually run $40 to $60. A buffer in sinking funds should cover irregular needs like clothing, small repairs, gifts, or renewals. Finally, prioritize $100 to $150 for emergency savings to build resilience. With the baseline set, let us put this into a concrete sample budget table you can copy. This table presents a working model. Groceries at $300 assumes heavy home cooking and smart sourcing. Transportation at $120 balances a transit pass with minimal bike upkeep. A $40 phone plan is achievable with a discount carrier and autopay. Hygiene at $50 comes from bulk purchases and prioritization. The $100 buffer handles irregular but predictable costs, reducing the chance of swiping a card impulsively. Finally, $140 goes immediately to a high-yield savings account via automatic transfer. With the model laid out, let us stress test your readiness before any lease signature. These steps simulate living under the $750 ceiling before you commit to a lease. Track every dollar for 14 days with the simplest tool you will actually use. Cap daily variable spending to roughly $25 as an average. Batch cook several meals to generate nearly 2 weeks of lunches and dinners. Walk, bike, or use transit to mirror your planned commute. Try a prepaid phone plan for the trial period to verify the real monthly cost. Automate a small daily transfer to savings to prove habit consistency. At the end, compare your total to a prorated $750 and do not proceed unless you pass. With readiness validated, we can address the most volatile category first: groceries. Groceries evaporate cash when unplanned. Center your meals on inexpensive, nutrient-dense staples such as eggs, beans, lentils, and chicken thighs. Use a simple 3-2-1 structure: 3 mains, 2 sides, and 1 repeatable snack per week. Shop by unit price, not by brand, and prefer frozen produce when fresh is out of season or overpriced to minimize waste. Cook once to produce 8 to 12 servings, and freeze half to lock in savings and reduce takeout temptation. carry water, and cut paid drinks entirely. With food stabilized, transportation is the next lever. Transportation savings are amplified by location. By living close, you can switch many trips to walking or biking, which drives costs near zero. If transit is necessary, a monthly pass often pays for itself if you use it consistently. Bundle errands to reduce total trips and consider off-peak rideshares only when justified. Keep your bicycle in reliable condition to avoid emergency repairs. Finally, track cost per trip so small, frequent expenses do not silently inflate your monthly total. With movement handled, let us cover communication and hygiene, the quiet necessities. For communication, move to a low-cost carrier on a prepaid plan with an auto-pay discount. Use wireless calling and data saver features to keep usage within the plan limits. For hygiene and household items, buy generic brands and rotate refills so you do not purchase multiple items in the same month. Set a monthly cap for these supplies, and consider using a dedicated prepaid card to enforce it. Track the per-use cost of items like razors and detergents to spot waste. Next, we will address the roommate factor, which can make or break this plan. On the left are practices that protect both the friendship and the budget. Put agreements in writing. Define the exact split method for utilities. Establish chore rotations with clear deadlines. Separate individual groceries while capping shared staples with a small budget. And hold a monthly financial check-in. On the right are common pitfalls. Vague promises. Unspecific 50-50 language without actual numbers. Assuming shared groceries. Unspoken expectations, and no plan for late payments or conflicts. Now let us visualize a simple boundary map you can copy. This mind map lays out household boundaries. Under utilities, define the exact split and who is legally responsible for paying the provider. For chores, set a rotating schedule and include what happens if a task is missed. For groceries, physically separate shelves and fund a small shared staples kitty with a hard cap. For guests, set quiet hours and a clear overnight policy. Finally, schedule a monthly check-in and put the agreement in writing with boundaries set. Let us pause for a quick question to test what you have learned so far. Quiz time. Which category is most likely to evaporate your budget the fastest if unplanned? Option A, groceries. Option B, entertainment. Option C, clothing. Option D, streaming subscriptions. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is groceries. Because purchases are frequent, variable, and often driven by convenience or emotion, grocery spending can escalate quickly without structure. By stabilizing this category first, you protect the rest of your budget. Next, let us connect the dots between a shorter commute and real income growth. The real secret is that slashing a long commute returns hours, energy, and consistency. That stability makes it easier to accept more shifts, arrive rested, and perform better. Even if your hourly rate is unchanged, the total pay increases, and your perceived reliability may unlock new responsibilities or promotions. This is how a part-time role can become full-time without changing employers. To make the momentum tangible, here is a timeline from survival to traction. This timeline shows the progression. Week 0 is pre-move tracking and rehearsal. Month 1 is the actual move, paired with a zero-based budget and savings automation. Months 2 and 3 focus on skill development and requesting more hours while stabilizing routines. Months 4 to 6 prioritize building a $1,000 emergency fund and establishing sinking funds. Months 7 through 12 reassess pay opportunities and raise the savings rate as your systems mature. With the long view in mind, let us implement an automation stack to remove willpower from the equation. Automate as much as possible. Schedule the savings transfer for the morning of payday so it happens before you see the money. Use separate sub-accounts or buckets for major categories to prevent cross-contamination. Preload transit passes and shared staples funds at the start of the month. Add a small daily microtransfer to reinforce the savings habit. Finally, run a zero-based budget so each dollar is assigned a role before the month begins. Now, let us test your understanding with a second quick question. Question 2. Before signing a lease on the low-cost place, what is the non-negotiable step? Option A, build a $1,000 emergency fund first. Option B, track every dollar for 14 days and prove spending fits under $750. Option C. Buy new furniture to prepare. Option D. Sign a 12-month gym contract to stay disciplined. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to track every dollar for 14 days and prove your spending fits under $750. This stress test exposes weak points before you are bound by a lease. With the key behaviors confirmed, let us consolidate the most important principles in a concise playbook you can reference. Here is a compact playbook in markdown form. First, follow the budget order of operations with savings first, then groceries, transport, phone, hygiene, and buffer. Second, adopt a weekly rhythm where you meal prep on Sunday, audit midweek, and reset on Friday. Third, enforce spend rules such as no paid drinks, no impulse rideshares, and a 24-hour delay on non-essential purchases. Finally, remember that the best tracking system is the one you will actually use consistently. As we wrap up, let us highlight the key points. These are the core principles. The 750 is the entire operating system. Reduce your commute to reclaim capacity and redeploy it into income. Plan groceries, because that is where most budgets leak. Put roommate rules in writing because numbers beat vibes. Automate savings and assign every dollar a job. Finally, do not sign until you pass the 2-week stress test. Before we close, here is a brief disclaimer to keep this advice in context. This content is for educational purposes and is not financial advice. Costs vary widely by city, season, and personal circumstances, including health and existing obligations. Always verify local prices, transit options, and employment policies. Build buffers appropriate for your situation and seek professional guidance if needed. With that in mind, let us summarize and then close with a final call to action. To recap, unusually low housing with utilities and a short commute can create a meaningful edge. That edge only matters if you control the 750 across core categories with discipline. Validate your habits through a 2-week trial before committing. Use written roommate agreements with explicit numbers and schedules. Automate savings and adhere to a zero-based budget to compound small wins into independence. Finally, let us close out. Thank you for watching. If this framework helped you see a path to independence, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more practical playbooks. I would love to hear your strategies for living on $750 after housing. What would you cut, and what would you protect? Share your thoughts and tips in the comments below. See you in the next one.